features of the act. This is very important because as a two marker, it also comes as a long answer. Okay. Features of Consumer Protection Act. The first feature I'm going to discuss is the social welfare law. If you look at the social welfare law, it says it is a highly progressive, uh, piece of social welfare legislation, and it follows the acclaimed Magna Carta of Indian consumers. What is Magna Carta? Anyone has any idea what is Magna Carta and why is it so important and why this act followed the acclaim of the Magna Carta? It's on history, so if anyone has any idea, you can tell. In fact, this is the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta. No idea? Anyone? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Magna Carta actually in simple means it was the Greek charter. Okay. And it was one of the most important documents in history. In fact, it was passed by King John during the British times. And this was actually, why was it formulated? The history behind it was that this particular thing was signed in 1215 by King John. Reason being, it was an uprising rebel by a group of English people. Okay, and why did they rebel? Because lots of their rights were not fulfilled. You know, the things they wanted to use the London churches at that time, and they were deprived of many of the things. But when this charter came into effect, it was at the Runnymede in the River Thames near the Windsor. It was King John's. In fact, there is one of the paintings still, okay, which signifies the importance of the Magna Carta. And it was in this royal mint where King John had agreed to the documentations to safeguard the interests of the people of London. That's how the social welfare law came into existence. In fact, today also it holds importance. It's not that it has, you know, gone out of effect or it's not important today, because in today's times also we can say that certain important parts of the charter still exist. Now coming back with a little history background I gave you of social welfare law, says that this particular law, this Consumer Protection Act, is a unique law. It goes on the terms and agreements just like the Magna Carta. And today, consumer is the king of the market. So for consumers' delight, to help the consumers, we are looking at that consumers are now the Magna Cartas of today, where we are fighting for the rights of the consumer and consumers' interests needs to be protected. Okay. Second important feature we are talking about, comprehensive provisions and effective safeguards. Okay. Its provisions are very, very comprehensive in nature. What do you understand by comprehensive? Anyone? The meaning of the term comprehensive. English students, come on. What is the meaning of the term comprehensive mean?
Ma'am, it is complex in nature.
No. Comprehensive means what? The term comprehensive. Comprehensive means it's very foolproof. Okay? Means the rules safeguarded. The rules which have been designed today, okay, they are an effective safeguard for the consumer. In fact, when they were in the Sale of Goods Act and all the other old acts which were formulated, they were not safeguarding the interests of the consumers. But this particular act which has been formulated, it is safeguarding the interests of the consumers to full effect against all types of exploitations and against all types of unfair trade practices, so that consumer has the right and the freedom to fight for and help himself. Third is special consumer courts. The act has created many consumer courts for the enforcement of the act, where people can go and file a complaint. The complainant has the right to go, and in fact he can even submit the sample. Say he has been given a faulty food, you know, he has bought something and the food was adulterated, it was not properly mixed. If he has the sample and he produces it in the consumer court, he can claim it and fight against it. Okay, and the particular manufacturer will have to replace it. Then comes the three-tier grievance redressal machinery, very important. What are the 3 levels at which this grievance is being formulated? Number 1, the first one is the district forum. Okay, this is for a particular region, for a locality. Okay? Second one is at the middle, that is the state commission. And the third one is the national commission at the apex level. Apex level means at a higher level. Okay, this is the 3-tier judicial machinery, also called the quasi-judicial machinery. After the 4 important points, I hope I'm being clear with the first 4 points. No problem. Anything to ask here?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. The 5th one is simple and inexpensive. There is not much of complication or too many legal hassles and technicalities for this Consumer Protection Act. Why so? Because here the redressal machinery is merely to observe the principles of justice. No court fee or any other charges is actually to be paid by the complainant. It's very, very simple. Okay. It is not obligatory that the complainant needs to have an advocate to fight his case. The complainant can also just write his grievance on a piece of paper with his name, with his address and the reasons, and he can just go and submit it. That much will also help to address the problem of the complainant. It's as simple as that. That is why it says simple, inexpensive, not too much of court fees involved. Number 4, what does this particular act cover? The Consumer Protection Act is covering 2 important parts. Number 1, goods. Number 2, services. Now, obviously for goods also I'm paying consideration or money. Even for services I'm paying money and consideration. So in both the cases, the services which are, however, any service which I'm getting free of charge, I cannot make a complaint against that. But if I have taken a hotel service and the hotel was not up to the mark, or the promises which the hotel gave me, they have not fulfilled, I can file a consumer case against them through the 3-tier grievance redressal procedure, because the services also are covered under the act. Then time frame. The act lays down a time limit for the disposal of cases. It's not that you can take one case and for 20 years and 50 years the case will go on and on and on. There has to be a particular time frame within which the case has to be taken care of and has to be resolved. Class action. What is the meaning of a class action? Anyone? Class together, class action means what? Can try, anyone?
Group of people.
Group of people. Sometimes a group of people may have a common complaint. Okay, say one person in a group has complained and it is representing the whole group, or maybe even 2-3 people are having the same complaint. That comes under a class action, where the act is allowing the filing of the class action complaints on behalf of the group of consumers. One person fighting on behalf of many consumers. Okay. For example, some unfair trade practices taking place. As I said, there was one of the important unfair trade practices at one point was that you will get a gas connection only if you buy a gas stove. That's a very blood condition, isn't it? That if you you don't need the gas stove, you have to buy it just because you need a gas connection. So this becomes unfair trade practice. And if it's happening with a very big group of people, right, they can all together fight for it. Then comes, after check on unfair trade practices, there are many other unfair trade practices like food adulteration, short weight, overweighing. All these can be taken care of by the courts. In all these cases, you can check on overcharging. You can check on different kinds of rules and methods to protect the rights of the consumers. Divyata, Muskan, why have you all closed your cameras suddenly? I cannot see you. Please be attentive to the class, otherwise you will not understand. These will come as pointers to explain. After check on overcharging, the Act provides for complaints against charging in excess of the prices of a product fixed by a law or a law and also displayed for a packaged commodity. Then comes the last point, that is formation of the consumer of the consumer protection councils, okay, to organize consumers and to educate them. What does the act do? It also provides for the formation of consumer protection councils at every level. These councils do not have any legal authority under the act. However, they can be helped to promote the cause of consumer protection and help in consumer protection, right? So having consumer councils like consumer association, where the consumer can go and express his grievance, and from there it can later be also moved to the consumer courts if necessary. All the pointers are clear. Anything to ask? Anyone? Zara, clear?
Yes.
Anyone? Okay. Divyata, Avni, are you all understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no problem. Great. Fine. So can you all one pointer at least can explain out of the 11 I have given? You all can choose. Just take one point and explain. So we'll have a recap.
Social welfare law.
Okay. Please explain.
The act aims to promote welfare amongst the consumers so that they can be protected from the corrupt practices of the producers like adulteration, overcharging, and underweighting.
And this social welfare law follows what? The claim of I gave a history of about what?
Magna Carta
Magna.
of Indian consumers.
Correct. In fact, Magna Carta was actually promulgated by King John, and it is the charter. Yes,
Ma'am, class action.
class action. Okay.
Ma'am, just like you gave in example, like if a group of people have a complaint against something which the school is doing, then they all together can complain against it, or like let them know
One
about it, that
person,
they all
one person
let them
can
all.
complain on behalf of the group. That is class action.
Yes.
Ma'am, time frame.
Time frame. Okay, me.
Ma'am, this has laid down that there should be a particular time limit for a particular case,
Okay.
so that there is quick quick decision and
Okay. Fine.
Ma'am, I'll tell.
special customer call.
Sorry, Zara, I cannot hear you loudly.
Ma'am, can I tell?
1 minute. Wait, Muskan. She's answering. Then you answer. Yes.
Ma'am, special customer courts. These courts have been created for the enforcement of the right of customers.
Okay. Muskan, you are reading it. I'm not being able to hear what the other one is saying. When you're speaking.
Ma'am, I'm not reading it.
Okay.
I wasn't telling to you.
Okay. Tell loudly.
I tell?
Yeah.
Ma'am, it's check on overcharging.
Okay. Explain.
Ma'am, the act also provides the complaints for against the charging of excess taxes.
Okay. Great. Anyone else who's left? Avni is left. Avni,
Comprehensive provisions and effective safeguards. It
Okay.
provides effective safeguards to the consumers against various types of exploitation and unfair trade practices.
Excellent. So I think the features are clear. Please read them because they are important. After this, the next important part which we are going to do are the rights of consumers. This, in fact, you can mark it as a double important line there because this comes every alternate year, either in long or in short. So they have to be done very, very well. The consumer rights of the consumer. Okay. Now, before I go to the consumer rights, from 4.8, please open to page number 38. Number 38. 4.8, can you see who's a consumer? Then 4.9, remedies available to consumer. All this is not there for your portion. You can cut it out.
What, ma'am?
Ma'am?
Page number, when I'm saying listen carefully. Page number 38, 4.8.
4.8. And basic concepts and
Basic concepts 4.8
yes, ma'am.
and 4.9. and 4.10. They are not there for your syllabi. So remedies available, machinery for redressal of consumer grievances, all that you don't need to do. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So till where are we going to do? Till 4.7, rights of consumers. That's very, very important. See, the chapter has a very small portion to study. So please study it well, because from them, that portion only the questions are going to come in details, long and short.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's come to the consumer rights under the Consumer Protection Act. Okay. You all can all put yourselves on mute. Then I'll start with the explanation. Okay. Let's start. Right to safety. I hope all of you can hear me. Okay. According to the rights, to this right, the consumer having the right to be protected against the marketing of goods and services which are hazardous to life and property. The right is important to secure life. It is for safety. 1 minute. Just a second, children. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So let's come to right to safety. So according to this right, the consumers have the right to be protected against the marketing of goods and services which are hazardous to life and property. The right is important for safe as well as secure life. This right also includes the concern for consumers' long-term interest. Now, when I go and buy something, obviously I will check on the quality. If there is a defect or something which can harm me, like any electrical appliance or any gas cylinder, if it can cause a loss to life, it can affect the health and property of the consumer. So this right is very important because it safeguards the right of the consumer towards safety. Whenever I'm going to the market to purchase something, it is very important that I check that the good is not defective in nature. Clear? Okay. Next part, what I'm looking at is the right to be informed. So, okay, before I go to that, please also look at this part. That the product should not cause any physical damage. That is what it is trying to say to the consumer for any reason. Consumer should not be put under a difficult situation where the product is damaged in any way. Okay. Now also you have to be very careful that there are so many common household items which have some kind of hazard attached to it. Okay, it can have some kind of food additives that may be harmful to us. There can be also some kind of pesticides that may be used for coloring, or some kind of like a pressure cooker that may be defective. It can burst while you're cooking, or a gas cylinder if it is leaking. So these things need to be really properly checked for. And this all obviously comes under the right to safety. Okay, I hope I'm clear with the first right. There's no problem with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next one comes the right to be informed. According to this right, the consumers, okay, the right to be informed. Sorry. 1 second. Right to informed or right to information. Now, consumer needs full information about the product. He needs information about the quality of the product, about the quantity of the product, about the purity of the product, about the standard, about the price of the goods or services, so that he can protect himself against any kind of abusive and unfair trade practices. So his information is very important. The 4 parts of information which he actually needs to get, what are they? Please understand that. Okay. Number one, okay, firstly, the product including its ingredients, the date of manufacturing, any technical specifications that need to be informed about. Second, very important, the precautions of, if any, need to be taken and the use and maintenance of the product. Number three, the strength, the durability, the serviceability, and the reuse value of the product needs to be looked at. Number four, the side effects and risks in the use of the product. All this information needs to be given to the consumers. I hope I'm being totally clear to all of you regarding right to information. Divyata?
Ma'am, what are technical specialties?
Which one? Which point are you talking about?
The second point, the right to be informed.
Okay.
This when the product includes its ingredient, date of manufacture, technical specifications.
Specifications. Like for example, any kind of gadget I'm buying. Say I'm buying a mobile phone. What are the technical specifications of it? Like what is its GB, what is its content, what is
The
its
features.
the features, even the materials. Sometimes you have lots of electronic items at home, like a microwave. You should know the technical specialities at what kind of electric power the particular gadget is going to work. You all these things should be very clear to you. The information should be clear so that you are protected against it and there is no kind of difficulty regarding these specifications. Because if I don't know only what my material which I'm using is made of, and I will not know that how much power consumption it can take, and I'll just put it at any socket, what will happen? The product will get damaged and you can also get hurt, right? So all this information needs to be given to the consumer. Third comes the right to choice. Choice means what? Generally, what is the meaning of the term choice?
That you can access to any of the things you like.
Okay, what else? What else? Choice means what? According to your liking, when you buy something, it's the right to choose. Today, it's a competitive market. As I said, we have substitute for almost all types of goods available. You have the right to choose. You have the ability to access a variety of products at competitive prices. And this helps. Obviously, the consumer with lots of choices are being given to him. So he has that choice to, he cannot be forced by a producer or a retailer to buy a particular brand. Say I have a choice between Puma and Nike. Now it's up to me whether I want to use a Puma shoe or a Nike shoe, right? No one can force me as a consumer to buy a particular brand. This is my right to choice. So consumers should be free to choose the most suitable product from his point of view, from his perspective, which he feels is the best alternative. Clear? Okay. In fact, if enough varieties of products at competitive prices are available in the market, then consumer gets the opportunity of free choice. There cannot be any aggressive selling done to force the consumer to buy the product. Are the first three rights being clear? Right to safety, right to information, and right to choice. Any difference, please? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Next comes the right to be heard. Again, this is important, children. Or the right to represent. The right to be heard. Let's look at this pointer. According to this right, the consumer has the right to represent himself. He needs to be heard, or he has the right to advocate his own interest in case he feels he's exploited or any unfair trade practice has been taken place. As a complainant, remember, when you are making a complaint, you become a complainant. So as a complainant, he can complain against the product or service, and then he has the right to be heard. Where will he be heard? Where you think he can appeal and he will be heard for, and he will be assured that he will get his
Consumer code.
to the consumer courts. You can go at the district level. As I said, the 3-tier grievance redressal is there. So we can go to any of them and appeal there, right? And of course, even if you don't go to the higher level, even the consumer councils and the consumer associations are formulated where he can appeal against and he will be heard for. So it says that the consumer has a right to register his dissatisfaction and get his complaint heard at all appropriate forums. This right also includes the right to make a protest. As I said, I went and I bought a say an air condition of 20,000 rupees. It turned out to be faulty. When I went back to the manufacturer did not agree to replace it for me. What will I do? I have the right to be heard. I will go to a consumer court. I will appeal to a consumer association and I'm going to write my grievance and express myself. I can protest against it. And if I have the bill, the receipt, and I have been found to be absolutely correct, then they have to refund me the consideration in the form of money or they have to replace it with a good. So this is the right to be heard. Then comes the right to seek redressal. This means the right to get some kind of claims and also complaints settled against manufacturers or sellers against unfair trade practices. You know all the unfair trade practices. I've already given you many examples, or even exploitations. The right assures justice to consumers against exploitation. The right to redressal also includes compensation in the form of two ways. How will they be redressed? Number one, in the form of money or replacement of goods or repair of defects in the goods as per the satisfaction of the consumer. Various redressal forums are set up by the government at different levels where they can go and speak for their rights, where they can redress it, and of course they will be compensated for the same. So right to be heard, right to seek redressal. The last right we are talking about is the right to consumer education. According to this right, the consumer should be made aware of the rights and his duties, and also this will help to make him conscious to protect himself. As I told you, he should be aware what are the rights given to him, what are his duties, what are his responsibilities as a consumer. This will help him, make him more conscious, and an ignorant consumer cannot escape from being cheated. So if you're going to allow yourself, you'll act always very foolish. You will be, whatever is given to you, you're going to accept, and people are going to exploit you. Then it's not going to help in any way. You have to be educated enough to stand for yourself in these circumstances so that no malpractice is done by the seller. All the rights are clear?
Yes, ma'am.
I explained the last one from the book only. So right to consumer education, it says, according to this right, it is the right of the consumer to acquire the knowledge and skills to be informed. It is easier for literate consumers to know about their rights and take actions. But this right also assures that an illiterate consumer, he can also seek information about the existing act and the agencies which are set up for their protection. The government of India has included consumer education in the school curriculum today and in various universities so that consumers at a very low level understand the importance of it. Government is also making use of media to make consumer aware through many kinds of campaigns, through consumer awareness programs like Grahak Chako. Okay, all these we have already learned in the previous part.